You are watching or listening to Purham and Associates. For more information, go to www.rpurham.com. Hey, good day to you all. Welcome to Purham and Associates. I hope you all have a fantastic week so far and not letting the world get to you. Hey, we got a very special guest with us today, Richard Lyons. He's returning guest. Y'all, some of y'all probably know who he is by now. Some that do not, I will do a quick intro with him or about him. He's the author of The DNA of Democracy, Volume 1, and The Shadows of Acropolis, Volume 2. He was born and raised in the Midwestern United States. His education took him through Loyola Academy, the University of North Texas, and a graduate career at Southern Methodist University. Lyons has been a lifelong admirer of the written word, which has led him to literary pursuits as a poet, essayist, and screenwriter. Professionally, Lyons is a third-generation printer whose father dedicated his life to education in the publishing and telecommunication fields. Lyons has been involved in printing, publishing, stage, television, production throughout his professional career. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the summer presenting others, Mr. Richard Lyons. Whoop. He would not do that. Hey, good morning, sir. Welcome back. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. Good to see you again.
Yeah, same here, same here. How's everything been going?
Yeah, pretty good. Trump fills a table with a lot of things to talk about. So anyway,
That's true. That's very true.
and to write about it.
Yes, that's very
Anyway,
true.
what would you like to discuss today, Randy?
Well, I got actually a litany of things I want to talk about. I want to
Okay.
kick off. I want to kick off actually with this past weekend there was the Iranian talks, the talks with Iran rather, on denuclearization, and I want to get your thoughts on how that unfolded. Do you think that the Trump administration made any headway on that?
Well, we have to step back a little bit to take in a little recent history.
Okay.
Some of which is that the Israelis, a number of right after Trump got in office, did sorties into Iran after Iran attacked Israel, and effectively took out the Iranian air defenses
Yeah.
before coming back. So that was their main concentration. On the other hand, Trump has moved 6 B-2 bombers to the installation at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, along with tanker fueling jets, or tankers, you would call them. And these are there so they can do extended bombing or pose the threat of extended bombing. They were the bombers that took out the Houthis, that are Iranian allies. So now you have the Israelis poised with their fighter jets to go into Iran, and we are poised with our B-2 bombers and their delivery loads of 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. They are the next bomb down from a nuclear weapon, and so if you are trying to get at nuclear installations within mountains, dug into mountains, this is the way to do it. And I don't think Trump is fooling around. I don't think he's going to take any grief after 45 years of the Iranians being upsetting force in the Middle East, and no one knows that better than you.
Yeah, that is
Um,
true. Yeah, that
but
is true.
they have funded all the terrorism in the world for 45 years.
Yeah.
So I think Trump would go in confidently with moral clarity uh, to say, and he's saying it now in these talks. He is stating very clearly, if you do not take out your nuclear capability yourselves
Mm,
now, we're going to do it for you. They are right at the threshold, Randy, of being able to have a nuclear weapon. And
mm,
it would only take one nuclear weapon to wipe out Israel. I
yeah.
mean, it's that simple. And they vowed to do it for 45 years. And it's time we took them at our word and stop sending them money and asking them to be nice. I mean, so I appreciate the Trump approach. We will have a denuclearized Iran one way or the other.
You know, your book there that you have the cover to, and let me throw it up right here, about the chance of war. It's I'm assuming that it's a pre a pre sequel a prequel to what we're talking about,
Well,
right?
no, it goes into three different stages of history where the world was engulfed in a cataclysmic war. The first one was when the classical ancient empires fell. The
Mm,
second one was the diaspora of Europeans in the world, right? And we were fighting in the 7 Years' War and the French Indian War over every continent in the world.
mm,
Then there was World War One, and the fourth part of the book entails a prophecy of just what would happen in the Middle East if we
mm,
allow Iran
yep,
to attain a nuclear weapon.
yep,
And it's really frightening
mm,
because it can set off a chain reaction that would change the world as we know it. So
yep.
I applaud the determination of the Trump administration.
Yeah, and I was just talking with another guest the other day about this very subject about Iran having a nuclear weapon and the second and third order effects of that because it's important
Yeah.
for people to understand Israel's relationship to the United States in the fact that by Israel being a nuclear power in the Middle East is for a strategic reason. They're a stabilizing force in the Middle
Yes.
East. And with Iran being as radical and crazy as they are, if they had a nuclear weapon and they did attack Israel, then now that kind of like sets off this chain reaction, like you just mentioned, that is going to prompt, say China, say Russia, who are also nuclear powers. They're going to say, well,
Pakistan, India.
Pakistan and India as well, yes, and they're part of the BRICS coalition, with
Yeah.
Russia. So it will be not only a economic, it would not only have a significant economic impact, but it will also have just a populist impact in that region.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand it. So while Western civilization as we know it today are screaming, death to Israel and let's wipe Israel off the map, it's like okay, fine, you wanted to go there, but here's the second and third order effects that you don't know about. The rest of those nations
Yeah.
around there hate your guts. So while we do have a friend over there that's protecting, our interests, you're calling
Yeah.
for their death, so let's be stupid. And I want to
Well, hey Randy, it's a
silly
good
mortals.
moment it's a good moment to ask what they're teaching in our universities if they're
Yeah, yes.
um, libeling a democracy that is, at the doorstep of the Middle East and helps in protecting us.
Hmm.
Um, it makes you wonder what they're teaching those kids.
Yes, and I often ask the question, and I never got an answer about with these universities. Who are these people that are actually there? Are they really for Americans, or are they really American citizens, or are they embedded you know terrorists?
Yeah,
But hey,
yeah,
apparently I can't ask that question because
that's a
I
long
can't.
subject too.
Yes, it is. It is. And about democracy, I often get. I just had this question posed to me the other day, and
Yeah,
I'm working on your book, The DNA of Democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, please go pick up this book. Go pick up this book. it's an awesome read so far. I'm thoroughly enjoying it because being a student of history, you kind of like I like got really excited as I started getting to a couple of like the second chapter there. I was like, ooh. So
That's great.
I was like, ooh. So, but I want to ask you, the why do we have a society now that says, you know, we got to protect our democracy versus protect our republic? And somebody asked me that question, you know, the other day. They're kind of like into politics and everything, but they're not publicly into politics. They just, you know, quietly do
Yeah,
it because of work and everything else. And my response to them was, I was being crass and just being facetious and everything, but in the instance I was being serious too. But my response to them was because we're just generally stupid. but 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 on a serious note, we do have a problem in our society as Americans that you know people are running around saying you know we our democracy. But back in the 1940s, you used to always see in print you know our republic. Everybody should
yeah,
know we are a constituted federated republic, but no one says
yes,
that. No one says that. Even Democrats refuse to say republic. You hear
yeah.
Republicans
Well,
say Republicans, but go ahead.
there's a reason for that. Why don't we start with the fact that they used to teach physics in school, talking about
Mm,
schools,
mm,
and civics would back in the 1800s. De Tocqueville did a tour of America
yep.
and found that the children of farmers in America were smarter about just history and general practical subjects than the sons and daughters of aristocrats in Europe because it was a practical education. We no longer have that. We have an ideological education
Mm-hmm.
given to us by the Democrat Party. So to go back, democracy, you can say that's a genus term, and republic is a term of a species. Democracy is the broad umbrella under which um, representative republics fall. Now, we take elements of our government going all the way back, Randy, and this is what I detail in the book. And there are keystones to how we are structured and why we are a republic. Um, I start in the book going back to the Ten Commandments. Why do I do that? It's because the Ten Commandments are the first instance of common law, at least in our known history, where priest and king were equally under the law as everybody else. And the law derived from God and rights of that law came from God, not from a king, not from a pharaoh, not from any other sort of tyrant. But we have a right to live under that law. Those are our rights, right? So that is the concept of individual rights and common law in one instance. We then move to Athens. Now, Athens was a democracy by definition,
Mm-hmm.
and that the demos or the people controlled the government. But it was a city of a finite number of people, and within that, people of finite number of citizens. So that you had, the assembly was actually the whole city. You would go and speakers would speak on a topic. They would be opposed in their arguments, but then the people, whether it's 20,000, 50,000, they would decide. If you were on trial, Randy, for any kind of crime, you would be in front of a jury of 500 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the city, would decide your guilt or innocence. So that is a direct democracy.
Right.
And where we experienced direct democracy in our country and what our Constitution deliberately left alone was the idea that the locality, the town, the city governs itself and that everybody can go to their assembly, the town assembly, and speak and vote, right? That's direct democracy.
Yes.
When you come to a country as large as ours, we took, and I go back to it, the Roman Constitution, which is that you have, because the area is so vast, you can't fit everybody into one place. You can't make an argument to 330 million people. You have to send representatives to an assembly House of Representatives who will speak up for you, the citizen, right? So then we have the House of Representatives and we have the Senate. The House is formed because it's more immediate. There are elections every 2 years. It is the volatile house of passionate causes, right? You have representatives who go there and say, wait a minute, the people in Wyoming are having trouble with coyotes, and you've made a law at the EPA that we can't hunt coyotes. Well, then they pass a bill, and that goes to the Senate, and the Senate is the deliberative body. They're ideally supposed to represent people and their states. It's a big difference. So they represent the whole state and the people thereof. And it is their function to calm the passions down, to make arguments go longer, to take more time to be thoughtful, and to have votes that are based on a supermajority, not just a numerical majority. So that's why we have the House as it is and the Senate as it is. And because we send representatives, we're not a direct democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Our Constitution dictates that we are a representative government so that it could comprehend the whole of the country. Not every one of 330 million people can be politicians.
That's and I thank you for the the great breakdown, because a lot of people don't understand that, and everybody thinks that they're a political pundit, of course, as we see on TV, as we see on and that we see on Facebook. Everybody's a political pundit, and everybody's a expert in how things work. So they scream, we got to protect our democracy, we got to protect our democracy, and it finally clicked to me, a few years back. I said, I know why they're saying this. I know why they're saying democracy. Why they keep saying, we got to protect our democracy, because they want mob rule. They think they're under this premise that they want to have their voice heard, and that what they feel should go. And so that
is a great insight. Yeah, it's a great insight. And now this goes back, Randy. This goes back to my other book, and it's Shadows of the Acropolis. That's this is volume 2. So the book you have there, DNA of Democracy, is how and why our country was created as it was by 55 representatives of the 13 new states meeting in Philadelphia and deciding what were the best elements of historical democracies or republics or any nation. And how can we create a government that governs itself? In other words, the problem with government is that they're always taking rights from people, not protecting them. So they devised a constitutional republic, which they hoped would minimize the amount of power that a federal government would have. It was based mainly, the most power was exerted locally. When you went to the assembly in Boston, everybody had a voice, everybody had a vote, and that was a direct democracy, and that's where decisions, most of them, were made. Most people didn't go to the state house and see what the representatives were talking about. You never heard it from the federal government unless there was a war.
Yeah.
You didn't even know they were there. So now what Shadows of the Acropolis goes into, if the DNA of democracy is how and why we were created as we were, ideally, Shadows of the Acropolis goes into the last 100 years, Randy, and how the Democrat Party has been taking power from localities, from states, and putting it in one city, and that's Washington, D.C. And then with the creation of the administrative state, they've been moving power out of our representative assemblies, the Senate and House, and putting them in an administrative state where the people can't hear their deliberations, don't know their deliberations, don't know who makes the decisions. They just know they take all the money and they distribute it to people to NGOs like that of Stacey Abrams, and you have It's been a 100-year march away from our ideal government as it was set up to being more akin to a socialist style of government you see in Europe, where the same people, the same person's parents who ran France 30 years ago, their kids are running it now. Their kids are in the same jobs their parents were. It's not, they took out the aristocrats and replaced them with bureaucrats.
Yeah, I was just I
But
was
it's
just
the
gonna make
same
that
kind
point.
of government.
Yeah, I was just gonna make
Yeah.
that point. I was just gonna make that point because you see a sense of reflectionism going on, and out of the Democrat Party when they call President Trump, a tyrant, which you talk about in your book, and
Yeah.
everything else, and how they shifted the meaning of government going back to the Constitution, Article One, Section One, Article One, Section 8, Clause 8, which the enumerated powers of Congress and what laws they can make. A lot of people don't understand that, and they forget. Some forget. Some just simply don't know. And
Yeah.
by those two factors right there, it allows for the creation of Shadow of Acropolis. It allows for the Democrat Party to create this bureaucracy, which is
Yeah.
unconstitutional in itself.
It is.
So now you have these string of laws that are on the books that no one knows how to fight, no one knows exist, and now you
Yeah.
have a body of government, a fourth branch of government that exact these laws onto the American people, saying you can't do this, you can't do that, and it's like, well,
Right.
where is this?
Exactly right.
Yeah, it's like
Exactly right.
where these laws and these powers correspond to the enumerated powers under Article One, Section 8. And they can't
Exactly
tell
right.
you. They can't tell you. And so
Well,
now when Mhm.
there is in the Constitution because the founders, I believe, foresaw it.
Yeah,
There is a clause there on the non-delegation of power. You cannot take the power of the legislature and put it anywhere else.
right.
But this is what they've done for exactly right, Randy. What they've been doing for 100 years. What they do is they say, "Well, that's not really a law; it's a rule."
Hmm.
Well, there is no difference between laws and rules.
Rules.
If when you go against a rule, a policeman shows up at your door, or an IRS agent, right, or an
Hmm.
EPA agent, and so they're using language to create this whole parallel structure of a government that's unanswerable to the people,
Hmm.
and it's been up till a couple of years ago unanswerable to the courts
Yeah.
because there was the deference clause that they just struck down
Straight down.
just a
Yep.
couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. The Chevron
So
deference.
we're making some headway, but the fact is, I think it was last year. The statistic is crazy. The Congress in total passed 27 laws that were passed by the House, passed by the Senate, signed by the president. There were 90,000 pages of rules, 90,000 written by 435 federal agencies. So who's in power?
Yeah.
You had it right a minute ago, Randy. It's the persons who are not supposed to be in power, the unenumerated branch.
Yes.
So, and that's
the justification there, going back to the Constitution is, there's that, the necessary and proper clause of Article One, Section 8, Clause 9, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah, but that's necessary and proper laws to support or to supplement Clause 8, the enumerated powers. So because those clauses are broad in their terms, so Congress has the right to make laws to supplement those particular enumerated powers. And people will say, well, no, no, no. And these are the bureaucratic minded kind of people that justify the fourth branch of government. And then you have the
yeah,
judiciary, who are also judiciary activists who are
yes,
supporting this, and now they're getting struck down because Congress just passed a law to restrain their
yeah.
activism. So you're right. It's we're gaining some steam to reel it all in, but it's
But
just
it takes a lot because the
hmm
way they set it up was that this administrative state, this fourth branch of government, that the Constitution has nothing in it about this branch of government. Um, the Democrat Party for 100 years has stowed power in there, stowed money in there, right? it's a lot of what they call mandatory budgeting now. No, you have to send that money. You don't even get to vote on it.
Right.
That is the whole purpose of the legislature, to vote on who's getting what money
Mm-hmm.
and what laws are made. So you can see how the administrative state has become its own government, and why, incidentally, Randy, they were attacking Trump. When you get to the end of Shadows of the Acropolis, it's all about how and why they were attacking Trump, because he was the first threat to the Democrat power base in the administrative state since Ronald Reagan. And he wasn't really much of a threat because he didn't really attack the administrative state. He attacked their budget.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's what pissed him off back then.
Yes.
So yeah, we're in new territory, and I think the more people learn about, okay, this is why we were created, so everybody has the most say possible, and
Mm-hmm.
government answers to the people because they have to, right? Or they're voted out.
Right. Yep.
How you start there and you end up with an administrative state in which nobody's elected. I mean, nobody. Not a single person in the administrative state is elected.
Yep.
Right? We don't even know their names. We don't know where they live. We don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Exactly.
Has become the world because of the administrative state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're absolutely right. It's interesting, and to your point about the budget, the budgetary process. Congress, they went ahead and passed this what do you call it, the continuing resolution, but they said,
Yeah.
okay, because Musk found all this fraud, waste, and abuse, Doge, they found all this stuff. Now we're going to go back and create a reconciliation package, and we're going to rescind all of this money, and therefore we're going to defund the government, and
Right.
there you go.
Well,
They
that
get rid of it. And
well,
now the
defund.
judges, yeah, and now the
Yeah.
judges can't enforce what Congress does because Congress is the power of the purse, and so the judges
Right.
can't say,
They
well,
can't
you
say
have
anything about it.
right,
No.
exactly. So
It is
and a lot of people don't know that. Hmm.
finally it is constitutional. And then the administrative state was going a step further, Randy, and this is what Doge is finding out today. That these non-governmental organizations that everybody assumes who knows anything about them, oh, it's a charity, they're doing good work, it's a nonprofit, because they set themselves up to be nonprofits, so that they get that idea of, oh, it's charitable.
Hmm.
It's not charity. It's taking money. It's taking money that is mandatory out of Congress to administrative agencies, taking that money out to NGOs and populating the NGOs with relatives of politicians,
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yeah.
It's another power base parallel to the administrative state and outside the representatives of the people.
Hmm.
So it's just, I mean, it's a triple deep system of permanent power
Yeah.
and
It's
permanent money.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
literally
people need to
criminal.
get the big picture. Yeah,
Yeah. It's literally criminal. Yes.
yeah.
Richard, hey, I appreciate it, sir. This is great. Um, how can people follow you and support you, sir?
Well, you can go to the website at richardclyons.com or find my books at Amazon. And I sure hope you enjoy the book, Randy.
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay.
I'm loving it. I appreciate it.
Okay, drop me
Thank you.
drop me a note with any critiques you
Okay,
might
we'll
have.
do. We'll do. I appreciate
Okay.
it. You take care. God bless. Be safe.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Richard Lyons. Hey, I had to get into a small deep dive about our Constitution, our our um, our form of governance, because a lot of people don't know. And I actually got into a discussion the other day with a somebody they're a U.S. citizen now, but they were a migrant coming to the U.S. and we got into, it was not a mean debate, but we got into a debate. It was a friendly debate. Let me put it like that. Okay, let me clear up. We got into a friendly debate, and the topic of immigration came up, and their point of view was very interesting. They were from a position of immigrants, the illegal immigrants should be able to come into the United States however they can, but then find a pathway to citizenship, a legal pathway to citizenship. Now, my position was, well, in order for them to have came to the United States, they should have came in legally versus breaking the law to get in illegally. And he said it didn't matter how they got here. It's the fact that we as a country invaded, bombed, stole this country and everything else. So technically, just the United States isn't our land anyways to dictate the laws that we have. Well, damn. Okay. That's an interesting perspective to have, given that our laws have been established as it's known to be for quite some time. I would say more than 200 years, give or take, in some form or another, about, how to become a citizen. And then you look at, who is determined to be a citizen as is by established through the 13th and the 14th Amendment. But okay. But this is but I say all that to say this is kind of like the mentality of migrants that are coming over to the United States is, well, this ain't your land, so you can't you're not in the position to tell us how we should come to this land. Interesting. I just found it interesting that that is a mindset that they have, regardless of what the consequences may be, and that's why there's that rhetoric and that pushback and everything else from people that are pro illegal immigration. So I just want to share that with you all. But in that same conversation, they came the right way because they understood that in order to be, I guess you would say, a part of society, that they had to be legal. So can't make this stuff up. They understood that. No. So, and that's kind of like where we have to discern where illegal immigrants who are here in the country, they can't actively participate in society. They won't get selected for jury duty. They can't vote legally. Is they can't legally pay taxes and everything else. Yeah, they're paying taxes, but they're not legally paying taxes into the system and everything else, getting a tax return and owning a business and filing for licenses and this, that. They're not actively contributing to society. And you know what I mean when I say that. Don't get into the nuances of, well, they're paying taxes and they're working it. They're not legally doing the process. Okay. So there is a separate IRS form for non-U.S. citizens to pay taxes, and all. I get that, but you know what I mean. And I'm talking about the tertiary effects and orders of, like I said, being able to be selected for jury duty, being able to vote, and everything else. So there, all of that. So there's all of that. So it's just interesting. And a lot of Americans don't understand that. Going back to the conversation I just had with Richard, the people don't understand how our laws are set up, how our laws work, how our government works with relation to the enumerated powers of Congress, what kind of laws can be made, what kind of laws are deemed. Just because it's a law doesn't mean it's an enforceable law. What kind of laws are constitutional, what kind of laws are unconstitutional, what kind of governments, what government entities can be established through Congress that will be deemed as constitutional and everything else. This is why the president dissolved USAID the Department of Education, and so on and so forth. So we have to understand these things and not just have an emotional attachment to it all, and get bent out of shape just because it's President Trump, or it could be President Biden, or it could be President J.D. Vance, or it could be President Bernie Sanders. Regardless of who the agent is, we have to understand the construct of our Constitution, understand the construct of how our government works, and what is applicable and what's not applicable, and we the people act accordingly. Folks, it's Friday, and oh, speaking of which, it's Friday. And it's the time that we take to thank our men and women who are serving our nation around the world, sacrificing and committing their time and freedom in protecting our freedom, our Constitution, our way of life. We thank you, we salute you, and we wish you a safe journey back home to your friends, families, and loved ones, wherever they may be. And with that being said, I'm going to jump up out of here and relax. So y'all be safe out there. And oh, before I forget, also, don't forget to drop me a bottle of water. Okay, go to Gifts and Go / Book Project 2025. $3, $4 a bottle of water nowadays. With inflation, tariffs, and import costs, and support my book project that I got going. And other than that, if you don't want to support the book project but you still want to support the show, you can do that as well. And you could go to our Purham for US, or our Purham for us. That's RPURHAM, the number 4, us, US, us. And that's via Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, however your preferred method of sending money via apps type of thing. So however you want to do that, you can do that too, and I appreciate you. Thank you for your support and helping me support the show in this program to bring you, this quality education. So with that being said, folks, I'm just jumping up out of here, and I will catch you all on Monday. God willing, God bless. Y'all be safe and have a great weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. Please be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share, and go to rpurham.com for more information. See you all soon. Take care. God bless.